Please welcome NATPE President and CEO, Rick Feldman.
Welcome, everyone, to the 7th Annual Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award. As you know, we've done all 7 of them here in Las Vegas. Next year, this week, we will do number 8, and we will do it in Miami Beach. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Tonight, we have the honor of honoring 4 wonderful honorees in Brandon's name. Let's have a hand for Jeff Gaspin, Irwin Gotlieb, Judge Judy Scheinlin, and David E. Kelley. Every year, it's very important that we let you know that this is a very important event for NATPE, and it's especially an important event for me. And lately, with all the things going on in the world and going on in the business, I've been wondering it would be interesting to have a conversation with Brandon and see what he would think about a lot of this stuff. But since he's not here, the best thing that we can do is talk about him and then talk about these wonderful people that we honor in Brandon's name. But before we do, I have to thank our friends at NBC Universal and our friends at Broadcasting and Cable and Multi-Channel News. So I'd like to introduce to you Larry Dunn, who will come up and say hello. So Larry.
Thanks, Rick. You're the man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. And thanks to the board of NATPE, too. You know, it's a real honor for us to be a part of this great spirit as we celebrate Brandon's memory. And we thank Lily for being here today. She's always here every year for the last 7 years. And on behalf of the editors of Broadcasting and Cable, our editor-in-chief, Ben Grossman, who's here, Melissa Greco, our executive editor, our associate publisher, Louis Hillison, Katie Rosa, and our CEO, Steve Palm, from our new ownership, New Bay Media. Congratulations to you, Jeff, to David, to Irwin, and to Judge Judy. I do encourage you to read their profiles in today's issue. There are great nuggets of information. When you look at Jeff, Brandon was one of his first mentors, and I'm sure Brandon is smiling down upon you today, Jeff. Congratulations to you. To Irwin, unbelievable. You know, there's a reason that both Brandon and yourself are in the Broadcasting Cable Hall of Fame. You're the first one to go into the Hall of Fame from Madison Avenue. But as they say in the UK, you're top of the pops, not just here in the US, but globally as well. So congratulations to you. And to David, you started out, you got your law degree from Boston University, which helped you create Boston Legal, but also you became the executive producer of LA Law under Brandon's leadership. He told you to go and get it done. And to Judge Judy, I stand here before you today, hoping that I never stand before you in a court of law. You are good and tough. But congratulations to you. You're too young to have 11 grandchildren? It's amazing. And you alluded in the article that you may retire in 2013. May you never retire. Keep doing what you're doing. You rock. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you, and enjoy the evening. Thank you.
And remember that all 4 honorees will be interviewed tomorrow morning by our friends Melissa and Ben tomorrow morning, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning. So without further ado, let's remind you a little bit about the aura of Brandon by please rolling the tape.
We'll begin today's meeting with the NBC Programmer's Pledge. Place your right hand over where your hearts used to be.
Since 2004, the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award has recognized the most innovative leaders and artistic visionaries in television. They are men and women who have shaped the business, inspired their colleagues, and left an indelible mark on our culture.
It's a singular honor. It's really unlike anything else.
The prestige of the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award comes from the inspirational life of its namesake and from the caliber of its distinguished honorees.
I feel Brandon in this room. When I came last year, I felt Brandon in this room.
Collectively, their creative vision continues to define what is popular and what is possible in a business that changes every day.
He contributed so much to so many audiences out there, so it's an enormous honor.
I guess, when everyone talks about Brandon, it's just kind of a name that's now synonymous with quality.
Brandon was the epitome of class and competition, and everyone who's come since him has wanted to emulate Brandon Tartikoff. There's never been anyone in the business like him.
I was fortunate enough to work with Mr. Tartikoff many, many years ago, and any award with his name on it is really something.
I think this has grown into one of the most prestigious awards in the industry. It's an exceptional honor.
Tonight's Legacy Award recipients embody Brandon's spirit and are tremendous examples of his passion, vision, and leadership.
I had the good fortune of knowing Brandon. 25 years later, to actually receive the award with his name on it, I can't even tell you it's a dream come true because I never dreamed that big. So it's quite actually a surreal moment for me.
One of my favorite stories involved Brandon while appearing on Saturday Night Live. When following the critical and ratings debacle that was Manimal, he allowed himself to be filmed while standing on the streets of New York City handing out pamphlets begging viewers to watch the show.
Manimal, great new show on NBC. Turns into a panther before your very eyes. Manimal, terrific show on NBC. Root for the underdog. Come on over here.
You seem to get the absolutely straight dope when you spoke to Brandon.
I knew him pretty well, and I did work with him. He truly was a man that loved television. And I never forget the one thing he said, which was 90% of the sale in the room to him was the passion.
Imagine, if you will, a 7-year-old boy sitting nose to screen in front of a 7-inch Dumont television set. He begins to fantasize that if he tried hard, he could shrink to a tiny size and crawl inside the set. Then he could live and breathe television from the inside all day. That boy got his wish.
This year's honorees truly have made a lasting contribution to the legacy of our craft.
When I first started at NBC, I started in finance, and at the time I thought, you get your foot in the door, you never know what opportunities, will come your way. The fact that I was able to make a change in my career and in my life to where I am now, which uses both my creative skills and my financial skills, I consider myself very lucky and very happy.
My first experience with Brandon Tartikoff is I was going in to take over LA Law after 3 years on the air. I had only been in California 3 years, so the length of my television experience was about, at that point, 60 episodes as an underling producer. I wouldn't get that job today. Well, Brandon Tartikoff, they don't exist anymore.
I actually started in 1970. When I started in the business, there were 3 networks. I'm really proud that I started the first major spin-out from an ad agency in the U.S., what was then Televest and then subsequently became MediaVest. You have to ensure that you surround yourself with really talented people, and you have to let them go and do what they're supposed to do.
I always had a passion for the law. I like to think that at the end of a case, justice is supposed to happen. And you have to sometimes be creative to get there. That's what fuels my passion in the law, and my interest in television is just that it creates a wonderful fantasy for me and for my family, and has been 14 years of a second career that's been great.
NATPE takes great pride in recognizing this year's honorees and adding their names to an exclusive list representing some of the finest talents in the history of television. Tonight, we celebrate Brandon's legacy. NATPE, in association with Broadcasting and Cable, Multi-Channel News, and NBC Universal, proudly congratulates the 2010 Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Awards recipients.
Lily, come on up. Could everybody please give Lily their attention? Boisterous crowd tonight. You can shut them up.
I'd like to thank you all for coming to this special event tonight and for making it possible to continue the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award. Brandon always looked forward to attending NATPE. He liked any excuse to talk showbiz. Brandon Tartikoff loved television. He loved the people that wrote and created the great shows. He loved the thrill of developing an idea into a hit show. He was addicted and obsessed with your powerful medium. To the 4 extraordinary people accepting his award, he would speak about their talent and especially their vision, and then he would celebrate them. It is Jeff Gaspin who embodies the discipline and the same kind of insight that Brandon showed as head of the network. David E. Kelley represents the most brilliant writer, executive producer package that he so coveted. Irwin Gotlieb would discover his own niche in the area of advertising that he would have depended on, and I think he nearly owns the entire field. And Judge Judy would capture the kind of passion and stamina that absolutely drove Brandon's career. Brandon would have had such a good time with these four amazing people. It is an honor to stand before you all. You all represent the family of television. It always hurts that he can't be here to experience this privilege. It would be important to Brandon to thank the people that support NATPE. He would want to thank Broadcasting and Cable, Multi-Channel News, and NBC Universal. We all know he loved being the center of their attention. And finally, he would still be so touched that his friend at NATPE, Rick Feldman, his friend who shared both his loves, baseball and television, insisted on keeping his vision alive. Thank you so much. And I just want to say, this nearly lands on Brandon's birthday, so I always think this is his birthday party. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, Lily just got married. Bruce, wave. Thank you. So we do this in alphabetical order tonight, and then we do it in reverse alphabetical order tomorrow morning. So we start off tonight with Jeff Gaspin, who over the last couple of weeks probably thinks or has really aged a little bit. But in this group, he's actually the baby of the group. So it may be surprising to let you guys know that he's already put in at NBC over 20 years with a little bit of VH1 thrown in the middle. Jeff has shown the ability to create, strategize, manage, lead, and succeed at every level. And now he's the head of all television, of everything television, except pretty much for news and sports. He is honored tonight because he is one of those special people who can work with their left and right brain. Jeff has high standards, but his staff loves working with him. His steady, diplomatic, and common sense approach to our business is respected by his competitors, and we are sure that he will lead NBC to its next successes. So tonight, to introduce his tape and say a few words about Jeff is Donald Trump. Donald? It's all yours. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's my honor, and I will tell you I know Jeff well. And Jeff Gaspin is a great visionary. He's shown it in the past, and perhaps even more importantly, he's going to show it in the future. He's got over 20 pilots under consideration right now, and I have this little feeling in my heart that NBC is going to really do some big, big numbers, and I have no doubt about it. If it weren't for Jeff, I wouldn't be in show business. Can you imagine? I was very happy in the real estate business, and he wanted me to do this crazy show called The Apprentice, and it worked, and we got these wonderful numbers. And we had some weeks where it was the #1 show, and he'd call me up, and he'd say, "I told you so." And I said, "I don't believe it. I'm a star. I'm a movie star. You made me a star." So I owe a lot to this man. But seriously, he oversees cable, the NBCU's cable. And as you know, cable is right now led by USA Network, and he is doing a tremendous job. And I'm very, very proud to be here. Special man, special wife, special family. And some of his friends came up with this little video. So let's watch.
Oh, hello. I'm Joel McHale. And when I'm walking on the streets or out in public, people always ask me, when is Jeff Gaspin going to win the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award? And I say, I know, damn it. If it were me, I would have given it to him 12 times by now. I'm not just saying this because my job depends on it. The Jeff Gaspin story begins where all exciting stories begin, in the finance department at NBC. I'll wait for the clapping to die down. But Jeff soon proved he was more than just a finance guy. He was responsible for expanding the Today Show to 7 days a week, helped develop eyewitness videos, and the long-running news magazine, Dateline NBC.
Now, what was your plan here tonight?
I brought these flowers for you, Chris.
After a great start at NBC, Jeff left NBC for VH1, where his deep love of music helped him eliminate music from VH1's programming, developing Divas Live, Storytellers, pop-up video, and most notably, Behind the Music.
Jeff, thank you for giving me and many musicians the opportunity to make complete out of ourselves. We thank you very much for that.
When Jeff Gaspin returned to NBC, he helped develop such NBC hits as The Apprentice, Deal or No Deal, and The Biggest Loser.
To show how much he believed in The Biggest Loser, Jeff gained over 200 pounds. I mean, that's dedication you don't see in other TV executives.
After that, Jeff sashayed over to Bravo, which, by the way, is a pretty presumptuous title for any network. While there, he bought Project Runway and developed We Arrive for the Straight Guy. That show put Bravo and Ascots on the map. Unfortunately, that success prompted Jeff to attempt an ill-advised spin-off. Mel Gibson hated that show. Soon Jeff was promoted yet again. As president and COO, or coup, of NBC Universal Television Group, he changed the cable division with dynamic moves, including the acquisition of Oxygen.
When Jeff bought Oxygen, I got a little nervous because I thought he bought all the oxygen in the world. Then I realized I don't even need oxygen because I'm famous, so I could breathe whatever I want.
Anyway, Jeff Gaspin was also at the forefront of NBC's push to launch Hulu.com, a great site on the internet where anyone can watch TV shows for free.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I'm grateful to Jeff for helping to launch Hulu. If I miss an episode of Real Housewives of Orange County, I get very, very cranky.
And now, Jeff Gaspin is in charge of every television business that NBC Universal owns, even Telemundo. Sí, el jefe Gaspin va a ser dueño de todas sus televisiones.
Jeff Gaspin might be the only person at NBC that we don't mock on our show, but we will, as soon as we figure out which guy he is and what he does.
NBCU's parent company, GE, has honored Jeff twice with the Chairman's Leadership Awards. I don't know what that is, but it sure sounds impressive. And he got it twice. And all the accomplishments aside, there's one title Jeff holds that matters more than the rest of them. Jeff Gaspin is also a proud family man.
Jeff is married? I never knew that. Wow. Some poor dude had to marry him? That is a strong man.
Thanks, Carrot Top. So what's in store for Jeff's future? With his vision, the sky's the limit. Nothing is impossible with Jeff Gaspin. He's brilliant, he's in better physical shape than any other entertainment executive, he doesn't have a single hair on his body, and most importantly, he's not Tiger Woods.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations.
A very hearty congratulations, Jeff.
Congratulations, Jeff. You really are fantastic, and thanks for casting me on Community. Thursday nights at 8, 7 Central.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Gaspin.
Okay, man. Enjoy.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Donald. Donald has been incredibly supportive and generous to me over the last several years. I first met Donald at the Miss USA pageant, and I learned that you can actually visit all 50 states in about an hour. I'd also like to thank Rick Feldman and the team at NATPE for all their continuing efforts to make this annual gathering vibrant and relevant. And congratulations to my fellow recipients, David E. Kelley, Irwin Gotlieb, and Judge Judy Scheinlin. I'm actually very proud to be with this group of recipients. I've been a huge fan of David's for all these years. I had an opportunity to meet him many, many years ago. I reminded him just recently when they did the 100th episode of LA Law, and I was producing for Jane Pauley. And Jane, actually in a very similar situation to what happened recently, Jane had just been vaulted to sort of a heroine because we replaced her with Deborah Norville on the Today Show, and she became very popular, and so she hosted the show, and I got to meet David, and that was great. Irwin Gotlieb, I've been to several Olympics with Irwin and his wife, and we've gotten to know him and what a raconteur Irwin is, and it's always good to know a judge. So I'm thrilled to be with this group. You know, earlier today, I asked Rick if he'd push this ceremony about a half hour. He got a little mad, and it cost me $45 million. So, now I get serious. Well, actually, I also, Lily, are you over at that table? I also got to know Lily in the last several years, and just a fantastic lady she is. And I just want to thank you for continuing to promote Brandon's legacy. There's very little television royalty anymore, and Lily, you help us remember what Brandon meant to our entire industry. So thank you for doing this every year and being just so supportive to all of us. When Brandon Tartikoff was first named president of NBC Entertainment in 1981, he was 31 years old. There was a writer's strike looming, network affiliates were defecting, the entire cast and writers of Saturday Night Live had left, and NBC had only 3 shows in the top 20. On top of that, Johnny Carson was reportedly in talks to move to ABC. Sound familiar? Well, Brandon went on to become the most successful television executive in history, and NBC enjoyed 18 years as the #1 network. So I know there's hope, and I keep channeling Brandon when I think about how to bring that success to NBC. I'm honored to be here tonight because Brandon truly played an integral role in my career. As you saw on the tape, I started in finance at NBC in 1984. Back then, Brandon was considered a god, a mythical figure that I never thought I would ever even meet. So receiving this award 25 years later in his honor is a real thrill and privilege for me. I actually had the pleasure of meeting and working with Brandon. When I was at NBC News, Dick Ebersol made a call to Brandon on my behalf. He said, hey, there's this kid in finance who really wants to get into programming. What's the best way in? And Brandon said to Dick, you know what, have him come out west, join our management training program, and he can be a fly on the wall for many of our meetings and learn programming. So I flew out to LA and lived at the Oakwood Apartments. Yes, those Oakwood Apartments on Barham. Bright green shag carpeting and half the country's Hells Angels next door. And so began my programming career, mentored by this mythical programming executive. He let me shadow him, attend nearly all of his meetings. It was an experience that helped shape my career today. I had another chance to work with Brandon later on, after I had left NBC, he had left NBC. I was actually out of work. It was, I was doing some producing. It was actually a difficult time for me, and I was desperate to get in touch with Brandon and see if I could get something going. And so we scheduled, we had kept calling each other and playing phone tag, and I finally got him on the phone. I had waited about 3 or 4 weeks. And I'm talking to him, and my little son, who was about 3 years old at the time, walks over and he goes, Dad, I have to go. And I said, well, Max, can you just hang out just a few minutes? I'm just on an important call. He goes, Dad, I really, really have to go. I said, a few minutes. And he goes, it's a duty. And Brandon's on the other line, and I hear him laughing. And he said, Jeff, don't worry about it. Take care of your son. I promise when you call me back, I'll leave my meeting and I'll talk to you. So while many of you know Brandon for his programming genius, his love of television, his passion for the business, I was lucky to also know him for his generosity and his humanity. I've been very lucky in my career, meeting and working for so many people who believed in me and gave me opportunities. Many people only dream of them. People like Michael Gartner, former president of NBC News, Don Brown, who currently runs Telemundo, John Sykes, my boss at VH1, and Jeff Zucker, who brought me back to NBC 10 years ago, and without whom I do not believe I would be here today receiving this award. So as I accept the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award, I also want to thank, on behalf of all my friends and colleagues that are here tonight, I want to thank my children, Max, Sammy, and Ben, who wanted to be here, but I told them they had to go to school, and my wife, Karen, who's been by my side for all 25 of my 25 years in television. I love you like nothing else. Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great. Next, we have Mr. Irwin Gotlieb. But before we do, Irwin has had the good fortune of having some very long-term partners in his life. His wife, Liz, and he have been together for 40 years. And his pal and partner in crime, Mark Goldstein, has been with him for 33, off and on they've been together. And perhaps some of you know this spring, Mark is going to be leaving Group M, so God knows what Irwin's going to do. So Mark, where are you? So you can just stand up and wave and say hello. You're someplace back there. So, Mazel Tov, we wish you the best, and we're glad you're here. So Irwin is the first ad executive to be honored with this award. He's also the first media executive inducted into the BNC Hall of Fame, as you learned before. Since 1972 at SSC&B, I remember calling on them for Metro Media back then, actually. He's been an outspoken, independent, forceful voice for progress and change in our business. He loves the business, and he has worked tirelessly to concentrate in the worlds of content, technology, and advertising so that all three segments of our business could be most effective. Irwin is honored for his vision and his leadership over 40 years. In fact, he was just declared the Media Agency Executive of the Decade in Media Week. And to introduce his tape is Michael Casson, who I didn't see before. So, Michael, where are you? There you are. Michael, come on up.
Thank you, Rick. What is a legend? A high school dropout who got an entry-level job at an ad agency nearly 40 years ago, taught himself to write code, and pioneered the use of computers in media buying and planning. Someone who actually hates the term media buying and arguably was the first to switch to media investment management, the phrase most of us in the industry use today. Someone who, as you've learned, was the first advertising and media executive to be inducted into the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame. A person who was an early advocate in making commercial ratings the standard metric, thus allowing for the rise of Nielsen, without which, who would you have to blame for everything? Someone who is a proud alumni of the media department of Benton and Bowles, which to the media service industry would be like the 1927 Yankees. Who would you pick? Irwin Gotlieb, obviously. We all know that reading the trades is often like reading bedtime stories to your children, more allegory than fact. And as you just heard, Adweek named Irwin the media executive of the decade recently. They couldn't have been more accurate. We've all seen the press. Irwin Gotlieb is the most powerful man on Madison Avenue, the king of advertising, the Zen master. Irwin has been described as someone who would rather think than sleep, a very fascinating uber geek. As a matter of fact, this is a guy who wired his own home. You know, many of us have friends who have screening rooms in their home, and generally they want you to focus on the screen from the front side. When you go to Irwin's home, he takes you around the back to look at the wiring, just so you can understand the technology that is all his. One of the staples of the Gotlieb mythos is that Irwin was born in China and raised in Japan, and there's no doubt that he uses what he learned in Asia to great effect in the business world. Actually, Irwin is more effective in a whisper than most of his peers are when they shout out loud. He's also the only communications executive I know who could shoot his own photographs. And now with the birth of his beautiful granddaughter, Juliet, the pictures are ever more beautiful, and more and more and more. And yes, that was Irwin banging on the ivories in the lobby piano at the 4A's media conference a few years back in Orlando. And don't even get me started on his stiletto collection. And no, I'm not talking about his heels. But the truth is, there couldn't be a more deserving recipient of the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award than Irwin Gotlieb. Did I talk about his big swinging checkbook? No, I didn't mean that. Television is a rich canvas for storytellers, but if it weren't for visionaries like Irwin, they'd have nothing to paint on or paint with. However, let me tell you a little secret. The special sauce to Irwin's success is Liz. Liz, please stand up for a moment. As Rick pointed out, Liz and Irwin have been married for nearly 40 years, but I think Irwin said a couple of years ago that if he counted it right, it's probably only about 7 or 8 years, depending on how much travel he does on a regular basis. But they've proven, above all, a wonderful relationship. Irwin, you're a leader, you're a pioneer, you're a mensch, and you're a dear friend.
When Irwin was selected, I looked at the magazine, and in a brief moment, the only thing I thought about is, no offense to anybody else, is who else could one choose?
Irwin Gotlieb is one of the most influential executives in the history of advertising and media. He oversees 4 media agencies. Together, they represent more than $84 billion in media spend worldwide, according to the official reporting service RECMA. In other words, Gotlieb oversees more media buying clout than any other person in the world. His career began in 1972 in the media department of New York ad agency SSC&B. This was where his lifelong love of technology and visionary ideas was fomented.
He was the first one to develop a customized computer system, and that evolved into a much bigger system that we currently use today.
Later, he was a key player in 2 of the most influential movements in media agency history, unbundling and globalization.
He was a pivotal individual in the separation of media departments from the full-service media agency back in the late 80s and early 90s. And that taking of a media department, creating it as a standalone entity with its own profit and loss statement, as opposed to working through the structure that existed in the full-service media agency.
By spinning off media has now become the focus of the overall communications business, where 25 years ago was the afterthought.
In April 2003, WPP established Group M, and Gotlieb moved into his current role, overseeing the first parent company to include 4 major media service agencies with offices around the globe.
Irwin has been, very, very prominent in driving this business, the media business, from one that has been a relatively localized business to one that is now a global network business.
Gotlieb has also been involved in program and content development.
When you look at taking an investment stake in the Bill Cosby Show when it went into syndication, when you look at original production of movies, these are agreements that were reached to benefit the clients that nobody else has done before.
His efforts and accomplishments have not gone unnoticed. He's a member of Broadcasting and Cable's Hall of Fame and has been honored by publications including New York Magazine, Ad Age, Ad Week, and Media Week.
He's very passionate about the things he believes in. He is very, very focused on the things that he wants to drive forward. He is a person of the highest integrity.
He is unarguably the smartest man in our industry.
And now he is the proud recipient of the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, Irwin Gotlieb.
Was that Eddie Munster? All right, I'm going to try and do this without reading glasses. I thought the podium would be a lot lower down and I'd have a little more distance, but all right. Thank you, Michael, for that introduction. And thank you to NATPE and its board for this honor. Before I do anything else, I'd like to congratulate the other recipients tonight. I'm honored and humbled to be in their company. Congratulations to all of you for both this award and your achievement. As you've seen, I've received awards once or twice before in my career, and they're all good. I appreciate every one of them. But this one is really special. It's special because I knew Brandon, and I worked with him. It was a real privilege. I met Brandon in the mid-'70s when he first went to ABC. He'd been hired by a gentleman named Werner Michel, who I had worked for. He's the guy who trained me. So if there are any of you out there who are pissed off at me, blame him. But Werner hired Brandon at ABC, and I met him through Werner. It was interesting because we were the same age. We were both born in 1949. I learned tonight that Brandon was really much, much older. He was born about 6 months before me. And we were both, in other words, we were both children at the time. We were 25, 26 years old, and entrusted with huge responsibilities way beyond our experience level, certainly in my case. Brandon went on to grow up to become the penultimate programmer. But much more important than that, he was a decent human being. He was a real mensch. It's a real honor to have known him and to have worked with him, and an even greater honor to stand here and get this award. I also, as Rick and several others have noted, I take note of the fact that I'm the first media agency executive to get this award. I'm delighted to accept it, not only on behalf of Group M and its agencies. I certainly thank NATPE for the recognition, but more importantly, I thank NATPE for recognizing the contributions of our companies and media agencies in general to the content business, to the syndication business, and all of the businesses affiliated with NATPE. On a personal note, I need to stress also that while I'm the guy standing here getting this award, our performance as a company, my career in general, is a reflection of the work of thousands of people, many of whom have been by my side for quite a while. Rick mentioned Mark Goldstein, who's been with me for like 16 out of the last 33 years. Reno Scanzoni has been with me for 30 out of the last 32 years. The only 2 years he wasn't there was when he got stuck with a non-compete that I probably foisted on him by accident. But the rest of the time he's been with me. Without people like that pushing me up the ladder, I couldn't have accomplished a fraction of what we accomplished, and I use the we. And therefore, what I'm credited with is really a reflection of all these people, and I share the award with them. Lots of people have mentioned the fact that I've now been in the business for 40 years. It is my 40th year. There was a mistake in that. I started in the business in April 1970, so I'm coming up on that mark. The business has changed, in case you haven't noticed. Used to be, you couldn't get out of the way of prosperity. Some of us used to joke that the station business was a license to print money. Today, the financial models behind content creation are really challenged, and disruptive technologies are forcing significant shifts in our business models. But the fact is, it is up to us to figure it out. Remember, content remains the key driver. Media is nothing more than content that is sufficiently compelling to attract an audience. If you don't have that, you don't have media. And you don't have media investment management either. We have to figure out how to get content funded and how to get it amortized. Technology isn't the enemy in this context. If creativity and technology are deployed at the same time, our business will not only overcome its challenges, we will continue to attract the best talent in the world the way we have over the last few decades, and we will prosper. You know, a number of people have mentioned that I'm married for 40 years. Seems like just yesterday. My wife has never been in the business, but after 40 years or so, you know, there's a lot of osmosis that takes place. So when it came to our own daughter, we steered her into the business. She's now an executive at ABC. We've made our contribution to the talent pool in this business. What we need now is the combined passion, leadership, independence, and vision of this group to ensure that we solve our challenges. We have to continue to attract talent. Without talent, we don't go anywhere. We have to understand how technology and creativity converge. And that'll ensure that the next 40 years are even more prosperous than the last. Thank you all very much.
So talking about talent, we move on to David E. Kelley. David, as all of you know, is one of the major creative forces in television over the past 25 years. So let's see. Write a screenplay, move to Hollywood, make shows, make millions, marry a movie star. Not bad. David's written and or produced Law, L.A. Law, Doogie Howser, Picket Fences, Snoop, Chicago Hope, Ally McBeal, and The Practice, and will soon be up to bat again at NBC. David is honored tonight as a TV visionary who produced shows of quality that also deliver ratings. He does not go to the lowest common denominator, and he has used his law background to explore important issues in many of his shows. And here to introduce his tape is our old friend, Mr. Peter Roth. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. So Brandon would have loved that Rick and Lily and all of you here tonight have chosen to recognize my dear friend, my colleague, Mr. David E. Kelley, as one of the recipients of tonight's prestigious award in his name. Now, the fact is that Brandon and David share many of the same qualities, talents, and certainly they each represent the highest level of accomplishment and success. David is absolutely relentless in his pursuit of being the very best that he can be. So was Brandon. David is tireless in his efforts and his work ethic. So is Brandon. David is brilliant, he's subversive, and he has a quietly outrageous and wicked sense of humor. Brandon, not so quiet, but he did too. And as much as anyone that I've ever met, David, like Brandon, is fiercely loyal. And he honors his friends, his partners, and his family with pride, with dignity, and with character. David's accomplishments, like Brandon's, are staggering in their breadth and scope. He has been honored with 4 Peabody Awards, Lifetime Achievement Awards from the Producers and Writers Guild and the Casting Society of America. He's been recognized with multiple Showman of the Year awards, and he was a Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame honoree. He's received the prestigious Humanitas Prize for 2 consecutive years for The Practice, and as we all know, he is the only producer to have ever won Emmy Awards for both outstanding comedy and drama for Ally McBeal and The Practice in the same year. From Picket Fences to Chicago Hope, from The Practice to Ally McBeal, from Boston Public to Boston Legal, David has left a legacy that Brandon would have loved and that millions of viewers will thankfully be able to enjoy for many, many years to come. I admire him, I respect him, I appreciate him, and after we look at this tape, I'm going to give him a big hug.
Who is this man? I'm Douglas Wambo, appearing for the one-armed plaintiffs. Douglas Wamba, appearing for the midget, Your Honor. Appearing for the frogman, for the goat killer, the potato man, the statutory rapist, the steamroller, the pig woman, the Chippewa. Douglas Wambo representing the side of justice, Your Honor.
There's a head in that bag. Yes. A human head.
Helen, we got a situation here. This man has been framed for murder.
Helen.
Is it real?
Helen, we came to you because we trust you.
Oh, thank you, for God's sake!
Calm down.
You calm down! What the hell is wrong with you people?
1, 2, 3.
Into the snow in a one.
Horse open sleigh.
Get out! Get out!
What are you doing?
I know. Get out!
What are you doing?
And they were in bed like this. Oh yes, that's sex. They were having sex. It's very bad. It is?
It's a good feeling, you know, to shoot a bad guy. Really, something you Democrats will never understand. Americans, we're homesteaders. We want a safe home. Keep the money we make. And shoot bad guys. And save the life of someone you love. Big day. Even for Denny Crane.
Miss Hendricks, you abandoned your class, leaving a note on the blackboard, going to kill myself.
You damn right I did. You want to know why? Because I'd had it.
Marla.
No, Stephen, I want to respond to this stuck-up ice queen. I have to go into a room day after damn day and try to break through to a bunch of kids who don't want to listen, don't want to learn, and you show me a teacher who doesn't almost lose his or her mind sometimes, and I'll show you a teacher who's not trying.
For the past week, I've been getting nothing but resentment. You know that's true.
I don't resent you, Leland. If anything, maybe I resent myself.
For staying with a man who doesn't love you.
I really don't want to talk about it.
Oh my God!
Believe it or not, I'm actually glad you're here.
Really?
Not as an ex-boyfriend, but as a lawyer who appreciates a talented addition to the firm.
Dr. Thurman, I know you still harbor deep resentment over my intervention last week, which caused one of your patients to go on living.
Mock me once, and you will never mock anybody.
I'm too tired to fight. I'm happy to bite, however. Stick that finger any closer to me and you'll lose it.
You think you got tenure? You haven't got tenure.
I'll ask you once again. Remove your finger.
I'll remove it if and when I choose, you obnoxious little snot.
Hey!
Ladies and gentlemen, David E. Kelley.
rewrite it?
Yes. I'm not going to rewrite his speech. You know, I've been with Peter Roth for 20 years off and on. He is the most organized, meticulous, prepared executive I've ever known. But he laminated his speech. Now, clearly we've been getting a lot of rain in Los Angeles. It could be leaking here. You laminated your speech. You know, I kid Peter, it's a joy to work with him, and one of the reasons it's a joy to work with him is he has always been passionate about material. I'm going to share a story. I told it about you before, but I'm going to tell it again. And this goes back to when we were together at Fox. I had gone in to pitch him a story about a young student. He happened to be Jewish, and he had heard of this prostitute who was the most beautiful woman in the world, and he felt compelled to go to her. And he wore his tallis, which some of you may know is a prayer shawl, and on the end is some fringe which symbolizes many of the tenets of the Jewish faith and God himself. And he went to see the prostitute, and she came into the room as I pitched the story, and sure enough, she was the most beautiful woman that the young man had ever seen, and he gave her his gold coin, and she lay down on the bed. And as he went to lay down next to her, the tallis came up and the fringe hit him in the face. And he took that as a sign, almost a sign from God. And he got up off the bed and he said, "I'm sorry, I cannot go through with this." She said, "Do you not find me beautiful?" And he said, "No, I find you to be the most beautiful woman that I have ever seen, but I have decided to live according to God and to prioritize the integrity of my life and yours." And Peter, I looked at him, his eyes were like welled up. He said, "That is the most beautiful and moving story, and I don't want you to change a word. But if I could just give one creative note?" And I said, "Sure." He says, "When the boy goes to the hooker, can he not take the tallis?" Thank you for this honor. I salute my fellow honorees. Brandon Tartikoff. So much has been said, and not much else can be said. He is a legacy. He is a legend in our business. I shared a little bit of my own story with Brandon. When I first met him, I was 31 or 32 years old, I think, which was how old he was when he took over NBC. I was going in to meet with him because they were giving me the reins to run LA Law, NBC's #1 drama at the time. And I had only been out here 3 years. And Brandon wanted to meet this kid who was being vested with control of one of his most precious pieces of cargo. And I went into his office, and he sat down. There was no small talk. He said, "So tell me what your plans are to do with the show." And I laid out a multitude of stories of what I was going to do with this character and how I could develop that arc. The meeting lasted about a half an hour, where I did all the talking. And when I finished, he said, "Okay, sounds good. Don't screw it up." But when I walked out of that meeting, I remember being struck with his courage. And I also remember that what he wanted to hear from me was not how I appealed to certain demographics, not if I was going to tell stories that could sell widgets or Pringles. He wanted to hear the stories, because Brandon, in his essence, believed in storytelling. He believed in content, and he loved writers, as Lily mentioned earlier. It's not that way today. I mean, the last show that I did, if an episode, and it ran 5 years, if an episode was ever watched by the television executives, it was never brought to my attention. Brandon loved television. Brandon shared with writers and producers the same reason that we got into this business, that when we were lucky, we may be able to come up with a piece of programming that challenged people intellectually, maybe made them laugh, and on a particularly good episode, moved them emotionally. He was in it for the same reason that we all were, and that was maybe we could make a little piece of magic. It wasn't about margins. It was about making a product that you could be proud of. Now, having said that, and having been in this business for 20 years and being a card-carrying dinosaur, I guess I would be required by law to say it's not the same today. Television just isn't as good. But the truth is, television is a much richer landscape today. With the advent of cable, we have television shows like Breaking Bad and The Sopranos and Dexter and Damages, so many shows, the list goes on and on and on, Mad Men, shows that wouldn't have gotten made 20 years ago when we only had 3 and then 4 broadcast networks. Today, it has become much more of a writer's medium with the cable shows and some of the broadcast shows, and that too is a reflection on Brandon Tartikoff, because Brandon loved to nurture and cherish writers. It was all about the writing with Brandon. So his legacy spans way across NBC. And as far as NBC itself goes, I know, Jeff, it's not been the most fun month for you the last few weeks, but it was a good week and a good month for television, because that 10 o'clock hour coming back into play for the written word, I think it's about the audiences having spoken that content matters, and that is something that Brandon Tartikoff always declared. And I got into this because I loved television. I still love it. I remain very optimistic about it. And I see good things ahead for NBC, in part because they just bought one of my shows. I'm very excited to make that show, not just because I'm excited about the show itself, but I look at it as going home a little bit to NBC, where I first started, where I did LA Law, when the time that Brandon Tartikoff held court and aspired to make little pieces of magic where he could. I will do my best to live up to the Brandon Tartikoff Legacy Award, but I'm going to try even harder to live up to the Brandon Tartikoff legacy itself. Thank you very much.
Judge Judy Scheindlin has been dispensing her no-nonsense brand of television jurisprudence since 1996. I'm proud to say that KCOP was the first big market that she cleared way back then. Judy didn't invent the modern court show, as the People's Court premiered in 1981, but Judy revolutionized it and has been dominating time periods in cities all over the country ever since. Judy knows how to win and stand out from the crowd. She was first in her New York law class, and she was the only woman in a class of 126 people at American University College of Law. She's honored tonight for her passion and leadership, which is obvious to all. And above and beyond everything else she's done, my favorite is the title of one of her books, Don't Pee on Me and Tell Me It's Raining. And now, to introduce our tape, Mr. John Nagowski. Thanks, Johnny. Good to have you. Thank you.
Well, let me start with thanking Rick for, I get to follow one of my most favorite writers in the world, and just what you want to do is follow somebody who is so good at writing. I'm honored to be allowed to introduce such a great woman who really needs no introduction. In the last 14 years, Judy has become a household name, which is saying a lot in this business. I had the pleasure of working with Brandon at Paramount, and there's no doubt that Brandon would have absolutely loved Judge Judy. They have a great deal in common, and it's why it's fitting that she's being honored here tonight. Like Brandon, she believes in sticking with what she's good at. He knew television, and she knows justice, and she dispenses it. Like Brandon, Judy helped to reinvent programming. He introduced progressive, hit primetime television shows, and Judy, she revived the court genre. It had disappeared, and she brought it back with a flurry. Just like Brandon, when asked about her success, she immediately takes the focus off of herself, and she puts the praise back on her team. And she lets them do what they do so she can do what she does best. What a lot of people don't know about Judy is she has this incredible marriage. And her husband, Jerry, is here with her tonight, and they are, without a doubt, if you don't know them both, the cutest couple you'll ever meet. Judy has gotten to where she is through sheer professionalism, no diva antics, no big power plays, just plain determination and raw talent. And I can speak to that. When she negotiates with you, there's no one surrounding her except herself. I know I'm in for it when I go to dinner and Jerry's not there. It usually means the envelope is coming out, and that's what she'll do it for, to renew. And there's no negotiation. It's been more than gratifying to see Judy go from a family court judge to America's judge. She's impressive, dynamic, and an inspiration to many. And I think the tape speaks for itself. Here's a good example of what many who don't know Judy makes Judy.
Whoever said there are no great second acts in American life never met Judge Judy Sheindlin. From New York family court judge to television icon, the girl from Brooklyn has always done it on her terms.
You think we have opinions? You think we have big mouths? We are gentle lambs. America's favorite judge has never at a loss for words.
Inheriting the strong will of her mother and the wit and wisdom of her father, Judy Blum developed a style all her own. Upon entering New York School of Law, Judy found her great passion, and it's a love affair that continues to this day.
What keeps me going are those few cases, maybe 10 a year. I can make a real positive difference. That keeps you going.
After a successful career as a tough, opinionated prosecutor, New York Mayor Ed Koch appointed her as a judge in the New York Family Court.
So your objection's noted. It's overruled. Have a seat. This witness may not have a terrific memory, but I've got a very good memory, sir.
Here she found a role for which she was perfectly suited.
Sir, you don't want me to have palpitations, do you? You have a lot more questions? Good. If that's too hard for you, sir, I guarantee you I will put you someplace where you're going to be in bed at 9 o'clock and at school every day.
Her rapid-fire style, intimidating attitude, and sharp wit attracted attention, which led to an LA Times story featuring the crusading jurist.
I had never seen a judge as outspoken, as dramatic, and as penetrating as she was.
But it was an in-depth profile on 60 Minutes that placed Judy firmly on the national stage.
If you want to get a fix on what's gone wrong with the American family and the American city, spend some time, as we did recently, in New York's family court. And you'll find presiding there Judith Sheindlin, Judge Judith Sheindlin. And if you find her a little bit shrill, a little bit testy, well, she'd be very pleased.
Do they ever mouth off at you?
Rarely.
It didn't take Hollywood long to come calling. Judy left her beloved seat on the New York bench and moved her courtroom to LA, but her opinions, attitude, and lace-trimmed robe came along with her. Premiering on September 16, 1996, Judge Judy wasn't an overnight success, but soon she had audiences entranced, and by 1999, Judge Judy was one of the highest-rated shows in daytime television.
Bird's going to tell you that I'm really a fuzzy peach.
Yeah, I love peaches.
Try to look in my gorgeous brown eyes.
And they are gorgeous.
I want you to look at me as if I'm the Uber mother.
Judge Judy's success spawned a whole new court genre, and her unique personality would make her a true cultural icon, often imitated, but never equaled.
I'm Judge Judy, and I'm tough. Mrs. Gilliard, why don't you tell me what happened at your son's birthday party?
This woman who claimed to be a professional clown.
Excuse me. Hey, I got a little story for you. It's called The Day I Killed the Whore Clown. Shut up.
I've seen enough. Get up. Get your bony ass out of that chair, you wuss.
Now in its 14th season, Judge Judy still dominates the ratings.
She presides over the most popular court show on television.
Still leads the court show pack.
The top-rated TV court show.
With the first lady at the bench.
And still shows no sign of slowing down, much like the woman herself.
They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous and 5'10".
In her favorite role as mother to 5 and grandmother to 11, Judy's love of family is a constant motivation. And as creator of the Her Honor mentoring program for young women, and as spokesperson for the North Shore Animal League, she also finds time to give back to the community.
I've always liked you, Judge Shanley. It's true.
Daughter, lawyer, judge, author, mother, and TV star.
I could almost do this snoozing.
The girl from Brooklyn has embraced each role set before her with great passion and drive, and has continued to make a remarkable, lasting impression.
You were expecting someone else?
Hey! Don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
What are we talking about again? Right, Judge Judy.
Did you see me co-host The View?
Hell yeah, you was all over that.
It is Simon's evil twin, Judge Judy.
The Honorable Judge Judy Shineland.
Judge Judy. Judge Judy Shineland.
The Honorable Judge Judy.
Our friend, Judge Judy Shineland.
Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Judith Scheindlin.
Thank you. It's nice to have a boss who's also a friend, and he knows how to read the envelope. Even better. I've had a great ride. I don't think that there are many women in this world who are more blessed than I am. I have a terrific family. I still sleep with a guy that I'm crazy about. I have 5 wonderful children, all accomplished and self-supporting. 11 grandchildren, the oldest of whom is trying to get self-supporting, and I'm hoping for that day soon. And I've had the blessing of 2 wonderful careers. My 25 or so years in the family court, I like to call the substantive part of my life. It was challenging, grungy, dirty, not always successful in its outcome, but when you won and saved a family, you saved real people. The television business I call the frosting on the cake. This is really your business, and I am merely an interloper in your business, although I've been an interloper for 14 years. It has blessed my family in so many ways, ways that you could not possibly imagine, although maybe you could. My husband and I raised 5 children and sent them through college and professional school on civil servant salaries. Our idea of a night out was 5 kids at Fuddruckers. Some of you know Fuddruckers. So the toys that the industry has allowed us to enjoy have really been that frosting on the cake. I was privileged to know Brandon Tartikoff just for a short while. And I've listened to all of my fellow honorees today and those people who introduced them. And I was struck by something that was the only thing that I think was not said. Brandon was a wonderful visionary, that you've all said. He understood and demanded excellence in content in programming. But I don't think we would be here today if that was all who Brandon was. I met him 13 and a half years ago for the first time and several times after that. And I met his wonderful wife, Lily, at that time. And although I was a real nobody in this town and in the industry, he made me feel warm and welcome and special and important. And what Brandon, I believe, leaves all of his friends is a legacy of knowing that you can be a good, honorable, honest, true friend, and also be a gifted television man. So that's really Brandon's legacy. He understood the importance of television, but it's television. But he understood the importance of family and its priority, and he understood that it was important to be a good and faithful friend. Those things leave you with a legacy of a good name, and I can only hope that at the end of my day I have the same kind of a good name in small measure. So thank you very much for this wonderful award. I appreciate it.
So I guess one of the important things to learn tonight is how lucky we are to be in this business and to be around people like our honorees and around a lot of people in this room. Lily, I really want to take the time to just in front of everybody say how much I appreciate your support of what we're doing, because without you we wouldn't be able to do it. It's very important, and thank you. And I hope, all of you, some of you maybe were there this morning when I made my speech and I talked about the value of meetings like this. And I think more than ever, one of the things that Brandon stressed was the value of relationships. If Brandon had a relationship with you and you had something you wanted to do and Brandon could do it, he would do it. And he would live with it as long as you both could live with it. And in the end, it got done. And I think it's those relationships that get built out of all doing business with each other, appreciating what we all do, and appreciating that we all do it together. So I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, and again, especially to the honorees. It was wonderful to have you here. We really appreciate your contribution to the business, and we hope that all of you have a great market and a great year, and thanks and good night.